So there's another directive I want to show you now, and that one is called v-for. And we use v-for to cycle through an array of data and output a bit of template for each item in that array. So imagine we had an array of users, for example, and we wanted to list those on a screen. Then we could use v-for to cycle through that array and output each user in some kind of list. So we're going to do that for books. So we're showing one book right here, but imagine instead of having these three different properties here, if I delete those, imagine instead we had a books property, which was an array, and inside we had a list of books, and each book could be an object. So each book could have a title property, which I'll say for the first one is name of the wind, and each book could have an author property, which in this case would be Patrick Rothfuss. Okay, so that would be one book inside this book array. Now I'm just going to paste in two more. So we have The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson and The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. So now we have three books right here, and we might want to output a bit of template for each one of them. So you might think, well, what we could do is we could come over here and we could say books and then 0 to get the first book and then dot title, and we could do the same thing for the author right here. And we don't have an age anymore, so let's get rid of that. And then we could do the same for the second book. So let me duplicate this and change this to 1 and this to 1 and so forth. And we could do that for the third book and it would work. But that's only when we have a small list of books. If this is coming from a database, you might have 50 books or 100 books or even more, and you're not going to do that for each book, and you might not know how many elements you have, so you don't know what number to go up to. So instead, this is where we use something called v-for. So what I'm going to do is instead create a UL, and we want to create an li tag for each book object and output that separately. So let me do that, li, and then I'm going to use v-for on this, and we set that equal to something. Now what we do is say item in and then whatever you want to cycle through. So I could cycle through books. So I'm going to say item in books. Now this right here, you can call what you want. You can call it book if you prefer, which probably makes more sense because then we're saying for each book in the books array. So this has to be there, this in, and this has to be last, the array we're cycling through, but the first item can be called whatever you want. So I am going to call it book, and it's going to cycle through each item in the books array, and it's going to output an li tag for each of these books. And inside the li tag, we have access to the individual book as we cycle through them. So for each iteration, this book is going to first be this item, then this, and then this. So we can output the different properties of that book. So I'm going to use an h3 to output the book title. So book.title, like so. And this is the same as this. So whatever you call it here has to be the same here. And then I'm going to do a paragraph tag for the author. So book.author, like so. Save that, and we should see an li tag for each one, which we do. And this still works, this toggle that we had before, because we're still embedding this inside a v-if. So this is how we cycle through data and output a bit of template for each item in that data array, and we will be using that a lot as we start to make projects, because a lot of the time we're working with collections of data, whether that be users or some other kind of resource like blog posts or chats or messages. We want to cycle through them, and that's when we'll be using v-for.